Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we dig into your sources and see what we can unearth. Today, we're tackling Two States by Chetan Bhagat, and from the excerpts you sent in, it's clear this is no ordinary love story. We're talking family drama, cultural clashes, and a good dose of humor, all set in modern India.
It seems like it'll be a really interesting look at love and identity, and especially how those two things come together when you're trying to bridge two cultures.
Yeah, exactly. The story follows Krish, who falls head over heels for Ananya. She's a Tamilian girl he meets at IIMA.
That's a pretty prestigious business school, right?
One of the top in all of India. And where do these two lovebirds meet? The mess hall, of course, bonding over how much they both dislike the food.
That scene really stood out to me. It's such a small detail, but it says so much about their backgrounds, right? Ananya's totally fine with a simple South Indian meal, and then you've got Krish with his typical North Indian spread.
Yeah.
It's subtle, but it really shows how different their upbringings have been.
It's like their plates are a metaphor for the whole cultural divide they're going to have to figure out. And speaking of differences, the excerpts also give us a taste of what campus life is like, and it's not all fun and games. You've got the crazy competition between students, the whole IIT versus NIT thing, and then to top it off, Krish and Ananya cause a scandal just by being anything in there that jumped out at you?
I think the scandal is really interesting. This is India we're talking about, so family expectations and traditions, especially when it comes to relationships, are a really big deal. To me, that just screams conflict waiting to happen. Like Krish and Ananya want to be together, but what about their families? What about what society expects?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just pressure from the outside either. You can tell from the excerpts that Krish is struggling with his own biases.
Yeah.
He's got all these preconceived ideas about South Indian culture, and he's trying to figure out if he can get past them. Remember that scene with the taxi driver?
Oh, yeah.
It's supposed to be funny, and it is, but it also shows that Krish has some serious biases to work through.
You're right. That's where the book becomes more than just a love story. It makes you think about cultural identity and how we can be so quick to judge without really understanding.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about so much more than just a boy and a girl falling in love. It's about understanding each other's cultures and figuring out how to make it work despite the weight of tradition. And speaking of tradition, let's talk about family. Because when Krish's Punjabi family meets Ananya's Tamil family for the first time at their graduation ceremony, well, let's just say it's a recipe for disaster. So you've got Krish's big, loud Punjabi family and Ananya's more reserved Tamil family all in one room. What could possibly go wrong? From the excerpts, it seems like Chetan Bhagat knew exactly how to create some serious tension.
Yeah, that graduation scene is like a powder keg of cultural differences. It's almost comical how different their worlds are.
And that moment when Krish's mother makes that comment about South Indian women, I don't know about you, but I had to cringe a little. It's funny, but it also shows just how ingrained certain prejudices can be, even within families.
Definitely. And what I find interesting is how Krish deals with it. He obviously loves Ananya, but he's also got his family and their expectations to think about. It's like he's being forced to confront his own biases and figure out what he really believes.
He's got a lot on his plate, trying to balance his love for Ananya with his family's traditions and his own internal conflict. It makes you wonder how he even begins to work through it all.
Well, it seems like he takes a pretty proactive approach. Instead of shying away from the challenges, he dives headfirst into Ananya's world. He even tries to learn Tamil and figure out the whole Tamil wedding thing.
Which, let's be honest, makes for some pretty hilarious moments. The excerpts had me laughing out loud at all of his cultural faux pas. He's clearly in over his head, but the fact that he's even trying says a lot about how committed he is to Ananya and her family.
For sure. It's not about giving up his own identity. It's about expanding his understanding and showing respect for hers. It's a really powerful message.
I completely agree. It's about building bridges, not walls. But it's not just up to Krish to make things work. What about Ananya's family? How do they feel about him?
Yeah, it's not like they're totally opposed to him, but they're definitely not welcoming him with open arms.
Well, yeah, they're cautious, right? They've got their own traditions and expectations, and Krish is a huge change from all that. It's like the classic battle between what your family wants and following your heart. But Krish seems determined to prove himself to them. There's that scene where he uses his business skills to help Ananya's father with a presentation.
It's actually pretty smart. He's showing them what he's got without being too in their face about it.
Exactly. Like he's saying, hey, I get you. I respect your world. And amidst all this family drama and cultural confusion, I noticed a really interesting theme running through the excerpts. Music.
Music. It's like the one thing that can bring people together no matter what.
Totally. And Chetan Bhagat uses it in such a clever way. You've got everything from traditional Carnatic music to those Bollywood hits that everyone knows and loves.
It's like a little reminder that even when it seems like people are worlds apart, they still have things in common.
I love that. Remember that scene where Krishan and Ananya's dad end up bonding over a classic Bollywood song? It's this sweet little moment that cuts through all the tension and reminds us that we're all human at the end of the day.
Exactly. It's those shared experiences, those moments of connection that really matter. It shows that love and understanding can pop up in the most unexpected ways.
This has been fantastic. We've talked about cultural differences, family drama, and the ups and downs of falling in love in a world where tradition and modern life are constantly bumping heads. What are your final thoughts on Two States based on these excerpts?
I think it gives a really honest and insightful look at what it's like to be in a relationship with someone from a different background. It doesn't sugarcoat the challenges, but it also shows how understanding and respect can help bridge those divides.
Beautifully said. And to everyone listening, we'll leave you with this. The excerpts end with Krish thinking about his future. He's won over Ananya's family, but there's still something missing. He's not sure if he's truly found himself yet. Something to think about as you dive into Two States. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.